Hello and welcome back. In this video we want to talk about arrays and loops. So first we start our server. Like you see, I have the three types of loops of arrays: indexed and associative and multidimensional. The first one we want to see is the index array. So with the index array we can use the for each loop. So for each, parentheses, and then brackets. Inside the parentheses, like we know, we will write the name of our array, which is workers, as and any variable name in here. So this variable name in each iteration, it will contain one value. So in the first iteration it will be Mike Johnson. In the second iteration it will be Julia Sanders. In the third iteration it will be Peter Smith. Okay, so this is a worker. The workers is the name of the array up here. Okay, so inside the brackets I can say, for example, echo employee name is, and then concatenate the worker variable, not the workers. Okay, because workers is the name of the array. Worker is these variables like we just said a minute ago. Okay, these three variables or these three values. So this is the worker. So and then concatenate a break. Okay, let's save this and go check. So I have employee name is Mike Johnson, employee name is Julia Sanders, employee name is Peter Smith. So I have the three values inside my array using the for each loop. So let's go back. So this is one way to deal with the array, index array. I can also use, for example, the for or the while loop. Let's use for. So the word for, like we know from the loop lesson, and then parentheses, and then brackets. Okay, so this is the for loop. Inside here I will start from the initializer, and the initializer I need it to be 0 because the first index number is 0. Okay, so I will start from 0. So let's say x equal 0, and then my condition is x smaller than 3. Why we choose 3? Because here I have until index number 2. Okay, so I need to be smaller than 3. So 0, 1, 2. Okay, so the next is the increment. So x plus plus. Inside my brackets I can say, for example, the same thing I did here, but with the name of the array. Okay, because in here I don't have this variable, I don't have the worker variable. So in here I will use the name of the array with the index number. Okay, so the index number is the x, so I'll put variable x inside here, because in the first iteration x will be 0. So this is almost like saying, for example, echo workers 0, and then workers 1, workers 2. So this is what we'll have in using this loop. The first iteration I will say echo worker 0, okay, because x will be 0. In the second iteration I will say echo worker 1, because x will become 1 because of the increment, okay, up here. And in the second iteration or the third iteration I will say echo workers 2, okay, with the index number 2, because x will be 2. In the fourth iteration it will stop because x will be 3 and the condition is not true anymore. X is not smaller than 3, so it will stop. Okay, so let's save this and check. refresh, and now I get them again. So I get this from the for loop, and this is from the for each loop. So I get the same result. Nothing is different. I can also use the while loop the same way I did with the for loop, uh, but we don't need to do that. Let's just go to the associative array. So this is with the index array, and here I have the associative array. I can use with it the same way, the for each loop, but what I write inside the parentheses is a little different from what I did up here. Okay, so for each, and then the name of the array, workers, as, and then I'll put key, variable key, equal, bigger than variable value. Like we said before, this key and value can be anything. You do not need to name it key and value. You can name it any variable name, but this key represents the key in the array, so it's this name here. Okay, and this value is this here. Okay, so then I open the brackets, and let's say echo, for example, hello, my name is, and then we want to concatenate the name. Okay, so how to get the name? I get it using this variable here, so the variable value, because in the first iteration the key will be this name and the value will be Mike Johnson here. Okay, and the same way in the second iteration and the third iteration, the key will be this and the value will be this on this side. Okay, so now I can use the value variable to get the name of the employee, so value, and then let's concatenate a brick. So save and go check, refresh, and now it says hello, my name is Peter Smith. Let's go back for a second. Sorry, I name all the values with the same key, like you see here. This is value, Mike Johnson is the key is name, and Julie Sanders the key is name also, and Peter Smith also the key is name. This is what happened. That's why we got only one value, the last value, because it was reset. Okay, because it have the same key. So PHP came first and found that the key name have this value. Okay, then it come in the second line and found the key name have another value, so it reset the first value. So now the key name is Julia Sanders. Then it came to the third line and found that also key name have Peter Smith's value. So now the key name is Peter Smith, so it resets. But we can change this using, for example, let's use their jobs. Okay, so Mike Johnson is front-end developer, so the key is the position. Let's take this, put here. So this is a new information we learn about the associative array, which is if you have the same key, the value will be reset. So now we are good. Let's go back, refresh, and now I get it all. Hello, my name is, my first value, second value, third value. Okay, if I want to add the job to it, for example, I can say and my job is, and then concatenate. The job is saved in the key variable, of course, right? So I'll concatenate the key and then concatenate a brick. Let's go check, refresh, and now I get hello, my name is Mike Johnson and my job is front-end developer, so I get the job as well. Okay, back-end developer, graphic designer. So let's go back. Next we want to see the multidimensional array, which is the most complicated because you have a lot of information. So for example, I have an array here called workers. Inside this array, I have another arrays. Okay, I have 3 arrays, so each employee or worker is saved inside one array. Okay, so this array is Mike Johnson, this array Julia Sanders, this array Peter Smith. So I can use the for each. I'm sorry. Parentheses, brackets. Inside the parentheses, we can put, let's just print R first, so we see what we are dealing with. Right now, these arrays have index numbers because they don't have keys. So this is index number 0, this is index number 1, this is index number 2. Okay, let's check this. Let's echo, for example. And then print R. We'll print R the array. Just take this. So let's refresh. Now I can see that each array have an index number. Okay, so I can target this index number to get the array. Okay, so target 0, 1, 2 because they don't have keys like these here. Okay, that's why they have index number. So let's go back. So now I know what I can do. I can target the specific index number to get the array. So for example, I can say for each workers as worker, just the same like I used to do with the associative or index array. Okay, but now I will get the array, so I have to do something more. I can just go up here and copy this. So this is what I used to do in the index array. Okay, because in the index array the value itself is saved inside this worker. Okay, let's go back. Mike Johnson is saved inside this worker. Julia Sanders is saved inside this worker. So up here I don't have an array, I have values. Okay, and but down here I have arrays. Like you see, each value is actually an array, and inside of it there is 2 more values. So I need to do one more step. Okay, instead of just workers, I will target the specific value I want, because worker in the first iteration it will be this array. Okay, in the second iteration it will be this array, in the third iteration it will be this array. Actually, let's just not target. Let's do it like this without targeting the specific value. We will have an error, like you see, array to string conversion. Okay, so I have an error because it's an array and I tried to echo. So let's go back. So I do need the brackets, and then right inside the bracket I have a key. Okay, for example, I want the name, so I can write the key name. Save, and let's go back. So now I targeted the name inside each array. Okay, so this is the for each for the multidimensional array. So let's go back. Okay, for example, we want to see something else if we don't have these keys, for example. Okay, so now this will be index array. Okay, because this will be 0 and this will be 1, 0, 1, and like that. So let's check this. Refresh, and like you see, now it's an index array with with index numbers. So let's go back. So now I need to change this key I have here to an index number. For example, I want to target the job. So I will say index number 1. Employee job is, and index number no, index number 1 is, sorry. So index number 1 will get me this in the first iteration. In the second iteration will get me this. In the third iteration it will get me this. Okay, so the job of each employee. Let's save. So now I have the jobs. Okay, like you see. So let's go back. The next thing we want to talk about, if I have, for example, array and then a normal value or a string. Okay, for example, let's say I have a name here, Michael, and let's say I have another name here, so now I have 1, 2, and 3 arrays, but I also have with them 2 strings. Okay, so if I come to use this way, when it comes to Michael it will not work, and when it comes to George also it will not work, because this one doesn't have, this one will be the worker variable. It does not have this index number here. Okay, so let's try check this. So now I have Michael, it's a string, and I also have George. Okay, so let's go back. So now I wanna get the name. I just want to get all the names. Okay, so to do that, because now I have arrays and strings inside, I need to do a little bit extra coding. So for example, I can use the if statement. Inside the if statement I can say is array and then open the brackets. Okay, this need an argument. This is internal functions, you don't need to care about it right now. This one will check if the value inside here is an array or not. Okay, so I'll put worker. So after I get this value, the worker, which is in the first iteration, it will be this array. I want to check if it's an array. So in the first iteration it will be this array, so it will do the code here. Okay, the code written here. If it's not an array, I can put else. If it's not an array, it will do the code written inside here. Okay, so this is how I can fix this problem. So let's see how it works. Let's say, for example, if it is an array, we want to do what we want to, let's copy from up here. If it is an array, we want to add the brackets, and inside the brackets we want index number 0. Index number 0 is the name inside the arrays, so like you see here. Okay, if it's not an array such as George and Michael, we want just to echo the worker. Okay, so let's save and go check, refresh, and now I fix the problem. I get all of them. Mike Johnson, which is index number 0 in this array, Michael, which is the string here, Julia Sanders, index number 0, George, the string, and Peter Smith, index number 0. Okay, so let's go back. So I fixed the problem using a little if conditional statement, and with the internal function is array, which is a function we will study a little later. The last thing we want to see is the for loop or the while loop. We want to use it with the multidimensional array. For example, let's use the while loop, while parentheses and then brackets. Before the while, we want to set the x. For example, let's say 0. And then inside I want to say x smaller than, uh, let's just delete these. So now I have 3 values inside, so I need x to be smaller than 3, okay, because index 0, 1, 2. Inside the while, I want, let's copy this, to equal employee name is, and then I'll put the index number, which is the x, in here. So in the first iteration, this will be 0. In the second iteration, it will be 1, 2, and like that until it gets to 3, and then it will stop. So let's add increment x, and let's just for fun add workers. Here is workers. That's it actually. Let's save. Array to string conversion. We did something wrong. Let's go back. If we want the name, actually we need to add other brackets, because this first bracket is for the array itself. So this first bracket will get me this array in the first iteration. In the second iteration, it will get me this array. In the third iteration, it will get me this array. So I need to add more brackets. So inside each array, I want value number 0, which is the name. Okay, the value number 0. So let's save and go back, refresh, and now I get it, employee name and Mike Johnson, which is the first one, value 0 in array 0. Julia Sanders, value 0 in array 1, and also Peter Smith, value 0 in array 2. Okay, so let's go back. This same thing I did here, I can do with the for loop, like we did where up here. Okay, we use the for loop. So each kind of array you can use with it, the for loop, for each loop, while loop, any kind of loop. The main loop used with arrays is the for each loop, but you can use any different loop. This is everything. I hope you understand, and if you have any problems, we'll have a lot more practice in the future about arrays and loops and everything. So I'll see you in the next lesson.